We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Introducing Capital Convos.
So moving on, there's some major news taking place in the next couple of weeks. In fact, Biden and Trump are electing it out, are fighting it out. Very, very interesting. And obviously you're a man of fundamentals. What do you think of that?
I mean, at the moment, I think all the volatility in USD is getting absolutely just crushed with the elections. Obviously today, it was today, wasn't it? Yeah. Today, obviously, USD boomed up, only because obviously I think the institutions and the market are starting to buy with what they think is going to happen. So obviously, at the moment, I think Biden is in the winnings at the moment. From the last time I looked at it, I think he was winning in the polls.
Just slightly ahead.
Yeah, but obviously they said that about Trump 4 years ago. So everyone's saying Biden's going to win this one. But obviously they said that about Trump, or who was the other one? Hillary. They said that about Hillary. She'll absolutely blast it. And then Trump just ends up winning it. So obviously what's your views? Because you were speaking earlier and you said how you feel if Trump wins, it's going to be great for the US economy.
Yeah, it would be great for the US economy. Firstly, he's a capitalist. So, he's obviously a multi-billionaire himself. He's also owns multiple businesses out there. But a lot of corporations are also backing Trump as well. The reason is for tax purposes. If, Trump is helping keep tax low. If you've noticed as well with NFP and unemployment figures, for instance, every time, Trump has been in power, it has most of the time, 80% of the time, 80 to 90% of the time, it's been positive. Yeah, obviously, apart from this coronavirus stuff that's been happening where people are losing their jobs, which we'll go into as well after this. But you know where I'm coming from. So Trump knows what he's doing, is what I believe anyway, especially as myself being a capitalist as well. Trump knows what he's doing with taxes. He knows where to lower certain things to gain more from other sides.
Makes sense. So obviously with Biden, why do you feel like, because obviously Biden wants to increase tax and stuff, that's going to be quite bad for the USD. So obviously, let's say, for example, when is the actual?
It's on the 3rd to the 5th of November.
So let's say on the 5th of November, Biden wins. Where do you feel USD could go? Do you think it's just going to continue to slump down? Yeah. Or do you feel like I
believe it will continue to slump down. The reason is because now large companies, corporations are going to start pulling their money out of USD. That they wouldn't want to be registered in the US anymore for banking purposes anyway. They would rather go offshore because it makes sense for them. They can still transact in the US since their headquarters are there. They're based there. They're still following rules. They're not breaking any rules. They're just going to be banking in a different country, meaning, if they're turning over millions and billions, the US economy won't get to see any of that and won't get to tax any of that. Just because of the increase or slight increase in tax. But for a multi-billion company, a few percent increase could be a large loss.
Makes sense.
Which they could be using to develop the company even more, to turn over even more. And obviously Trump understands this. He's not really a people's person, so he's not there for the majority. He's mainly there for the minority. But that minority helped the rest of the country, if you know where I'm coming from. Me being a capitalist, I might sound one-sided. I don't like Trump as a person too much either. I think he's a bit of a arsehole.
I mean, he speaks his mind, but sometimes what he says is true. But people are just afraid to actually say it. So he does speak his mind, but obviously a lot of the time it's just a load of waffle.
He could say things in a nicer way.
Could do.
Yeah, being a president, I would assume, everyone goes through people skills, people training, whereas Biden is more of a people's person. He's willing to help out communities. There is a lot of the US as well that is quite under the norm, that are struggling. There's a whole loads of hoods, in hooded areas, or what do they call them? Hoods? Ghettos? Yeah, ghettos. They call them ghettos, There's loads of ghettos in the US that are dying for somebody to just come and help them, with a helping hand. But they have to resort to crime. So one thing Trump hasn't done is drop the crime rate. So whereas that's what Biden said he would help do, help drop the crime rate in certain areas, or as far as he could, drop the crime rate as much as possible, making the place a lot safer to live in.
So what do you think? How do you think if you were Biden right now, how do you think you could lower that crime rate? I know it's quite a tricky question, but obviously, from your experience, what do you feel like what you could actually do?
It's all based on money. Once again, it's all based on money. Somebody wouldn't, people would kill for £1,000 nowadays. Let's say somebody owes you some money, £1,000, they're willing to just pull out a gun and shoot that person. Does that make sense? Whereas if once again, it comes back to money. If you are already earning a decent amount, you wouldn't care about that £1,000. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
So he's helping people come into more employment. I'm not too sure how he's going to do that, because Trump, being the capitalist, is helping companies grow to help employ other people anyway. Yeah, I'm not too sure how Biden is looking to help people go into more employment, but what he is doing is cutting down or increasing, let's say, taxes for the richer people, and that will also cut them in certain areas as well, won't they?
Makes sense.
Yes, that increasing taxes with the higher class people will cut their spending in certain areas, cut their investing in certain areas, cut their growth in certain areas. Now that growth, for instance, like myself, we hire quite a few number of staff. Yeah. If our taxes were to increase, I would have to cut costs with some of those staff. Does that make sense? To just cover some of the taxes, or if we need to make more turnover to cover that extra money that we're losing out on. Does that make sense? And Trump understands this. That's why he's not looking to increase taxes. I'm not too sure, like I said, once again, how Biden is going to, bring more jobs on board, or how he's going to win the favor of everybody else. But it's just a numbers game.
So obviously, have you watched any of the live debates between Trump and Biden? Obviously, from what I've seen, Trump likes to brag about not wearing a mask, and Biden likes to stick to those rules. So obviously, what do you think Trump's agenda is behind that? Because obviously because I know obviously he went down with coronavirus again, and then 3-4 days later he said he's completely fine. So obviously, do you think there's some sort of agenda behind that?
I think, to be honest, it just comes back to his own personality. He's just a bit arrogant. He doesn't like being told what to do.
Fair enough.
If you say, you know what, wear a mask, he'd be like, no, I ain't listening to you.
Yeah. He is the president, but obviously he is what's the word? He's told, but obviously he doesn't get, he can do what he wants at the end of the day.
But he doesn't get told.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's Trump for you. And that's probably why I don't like him too much, but his brain, he knows what he's doing in life.
He's a businessman.
He is a businessman. He keeps the world turning over. He keeps money flowing. He's proven it over and over again. And whatever anybody says about him, even I, like I said, he doesn't care about my opinion. Me thinking he's an arsehole, he's still going to kill it every single day. He's still going to make his money. Let's go on to some of the UK stuff. So Brexit.
So obviously, what's your views on Brexit at the moment?
Brexit is looking like possibly, there's still some talks going on. There may be a deal taking place.
It's very uncertain at the moment.
But it is very uncertain. It's mainly slowed down because of the coronavirus stuff. They were supposed to have regular meetings every week with the European Union, but obviously that has cut down to over Zoom a lot of the time, and some of their time is being spent in other places as well. So things are scheduled a bit further out now, rather than having meetings every week or every other week. It's now every other month basically. Obviously their main focus now is decreasing the coronavirus crisis as much as possible at the moment. But what Boris has said is by the end of this year we have to be out of the EU, whether there's a deal or whether there is no deal.
So what do you think personally was going to happen?
I personally think we will survive even without a deal.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, what do you think? We'll make it work.
There's a lot of uncertainty at the moment. I feel like obviously Boris is doing his thing, but obviously the Euro's at the moment just focusing more on the corona at the moment. So that's why they're kind of pushing it, I think, back further and further. Yeah. And obviously by Boris giving that deadline, it kind of puts pressure on both parties. Yeah. So obviously I feel like I personally probably no deal. because it's just going to keep getting extended. And if Boris says end of the year and it doesn't get met, then there's no actually.
Exactly. But I reckon we'll survive, to be honest. Maybe it might be a bit of a headache crossing borders. We have to get a visa now every time we want to go to France or any other country in Europe. We have to have a visa.
Yeah.
Our European passport isn't valid anymore or won't be valid. Well, I'm not too sure what's going to happen with that, in fact.
I mean, I don't think that will affect the average person, though.
Mine says it's going to run out in 2025. I'll still try my whole life.
I think mine is 2022, I think, next year.
Okay.
Oh, no, 2 years. So, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a crazy one. But
Yeah.
obviously, with the UK at the moment, their exports are mainly for Euro. So, obviously, they export all their goods to Euro. And obviously, the more exports, the better. Because you want to be exporting more than you're importing for the trade surplus. If there is a no deal, what do you think? How do you think that could affect the exports?
So that will actually possibly drop our exports. The reason for that is because there's going to be export taxes. Yeah. Plus, in other countries, there's going to be import taxes.
Yeah.
So they're going to be paying slightly more for the same product that they were paying for, and because they're paying that slightly bit more, they're not making as much in return on profit. So people are going to start finding local companies, or to find these goods instead from, which are based in Europe rather than abroad.
Yeah.
And now we're going to be pretty much abroad, aren't we?
Yeah.
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 We're going to be
Literally,
called
technically.
Yeah. We're technically abroad now. So you know where I'm coming from. Brexit stuff. I reckon we will be all right, to be honest.
It should be fine. But obviously, everyone's just worrying. But to the average person, I don't think you will see that much of a difference, personally. I think everyone's just stressing about it too much.
Yeah.
When in reality, it's not really going to affect you as much.
Like, a normal canteen worker, for instance, or whatever job you're in, to be honest, it won't really affect you. Yeah, with us, it's actually put a smile on our face because it's add a bit more volatility to the markets.
Yeah.
We gain a bit more strength with the pound. We care about these things, but other people don't really matter.
So obviously, I think if Brexit comes ahead and there is a deal and we do leave, I think obviously the pound should strengthen.
Yeah.
If there is a no deal, I think the pound would weaken, only because obviously the volatility in pound obviously at the moment is getting crushed by the Brexit deals. Obviously, if there's a no deal, we'd have to look at all the other factors for the UK. So obviously, you'd have to look at what the interest rates are saying, what the money supply is saying, what the CPI goods are saying, so the CPI, the PPIs as well. And then obviously that's on an absolute scale. It could either be deflation or inflationary for the UK. And obviously you'd have to, let's say, for example, I know a lot of people who would trade a pair. Let's say they see USD is strengthening. They would then buy USD for every single thing. So they'll buy UJ, USD CAD, USD SHIF, whatever, and they'll just buy it. When in reality, you have to be, from my personal experience as a fundamental trader, we have to look at each country individually and figure out which is inflationary conditions, which is deflationary conditions. And obviously, at the moment, I haven't done too much fundamentals on the UK. I've been focused more on the US. And obviously, at the moment, from this annual year, obviously the US has been deflationary. But I mean, from what I've seen with the CPI as well, obviously from April and May, the CPI, so obviously the consumer price, has absolutely flown. Money supply is getting absolutely crushed as well.
Wow.
I mean, money supply was increased in April and March.
I do remember.
Because obviously when I did the statistics for that, being 150% increase, 110%, 80%. And obviously, I think the standard deviation for money supply, I think, is around 12%. So obviously, that's on average what they should be increasing it by. So when they're increasing that 150% for the US and the UK, I'm sure will be about the same. That's obviously telling me that deflation is occurring. So just obviously for me, as when I tell people to trade, they have to obviously look at each country individually and actually compare that. So obviously with the goods from the UK, as if they do leave Brexit with a deal, that will be pretty. If they do have a deal, that'll be good. If they don't have a deal, then I don't know what could happen.
Things could get affected. maybe not quite badly, but
Not
they
as bad,
will
but I
be
think,
affected.
I reckon so.
We're actually, well, there was announced mid-August that we're in a recession, but we don't see it.
Yeah. I mean,
We don't see it.
I remember a few of my students asked me when the US was announced in a recession, why is USD going up? And I always tell people, like, you can't just base that upon headlines, because that's what they want you to.
Exactly.
This is what the market makers want you to do. They want you to see like an NFP.
Yeah.
Or like when NFP comes out, people will buy it if it goes positive. People will sell it if it goes negative. When in reality, you should not be looking at that. You need to understand if it's negative, why is it negative, and how is that going to affect the future? So obviously, with all the other stuff, you need to look at it from an actual macro perspective. That's obviously the way I teach my students. You need to look at it from a long term.
Not just that.
Like with crypto, people they invest into crypto and they wonder why their returns aren't great. And when they invest into stocks, they want to be rich a year later or 6 months later. When in reality, you need to actually think about the long term.
Exactly.
Because obviously at the moment, I've invested into Tesla, AMD, Bloom Energy, which is a green energy company.
How come Tesla? Do you like Tesla cars?
Tesla, I like Tesla cars. And mainly because obviously I feel in the future, electric cars will be very norm.
Yeah.
So obviously Tesla running the electric game at the moment, it's like when you got into Bitcoin at the start. It's obviously, you want to be right at the start. And obviously Tesla at the moment is quite new. It's a relatively new company compared to all the big titans at Apple and stuff and Amazon. It's relatively new, and obviously the electric game is starting to pick up.
I think they are way ahead of a lot of other electric car manufacturers. Like I was at BMW earlier on today, and only now. So what they said, this is secret by the way, and you heard it here first. They're actually releasing a BMW i4, which is basically a 4 Series Grand Coupe to compete with the Tesla S.
Wow. Did they tell you rough pricing for that? Or?
They didn't tell me the pricing.
It's going to be probably around 60.
Yeah. Well, how much
50.
is a usual Grand Coupe? Yeah, it's going to be about 50,
50,
60 brand new. Add some extras on there. BMW extras are not cheap as well. So could push up to about 70, 80 maybe, but it's going to have 400 miles range in it.
Wow.
Plus, it's going to be built by BMW. So, you're getting quality.
Yeah.
If you've ever driven a Tesla, you'll feel the steering wheel is like plastic. Have you sat in a Tesla?
Not personally, no. But actually, I think I have once.
And the outside of it looks like a Ford Mondeo.
Pretty much.
And unless you know about cars, you won't know that is a special car. Yeah, with a Tesla. Whereas, BMW, you look at it, you're like, okay, it's got that shining badge.
Yep. So obviously, leading on from that, obviously BMW, you got an M6 recently.
Yeah.
Obviously, it looks crazy. I was in it earlier, and it was crazy. What are your plans for that in the future? Because obviously, we was discussing it again a couple of weeks ago about how you want to obviously mod that out. Obviously, you can speak about that. But what's your plans for that?
So my plans for that, I'll probably keep that for quite some time. I'm happy with that. I decided to get a Grand Coupe for the extra space as well. It seems like a very big car. I've also got a runaround car as well. So if I do need to take some missions into the city, I'll just take that. If I'm going to, down the road to the shops, I don't need to start a 4.4 litre V8, just to
miles per gallon. It's just crazy.
There's like 0 miles per gallon on that car. But yeah, my goal is obviously I'm very, very into cars. I'm looking to hit a few events as well, like VMAX 200, try and hit the 200 mile per hour club.
Okay.
Push some numbers, BHP figures to about 700.
Were you trying to get stage 2, stage 1 remaps?
Stage 1 will I'm already kind of past the stage 1.
Okay.
Stage 2 parts are already arriving. Some parts are already here. I'm just waiting for a few more bits. So I've already got the downpipes. I'm waiting for the intakes to arrive. Iridium spark plugs as well, because it's becoming into winter now. You can't afford any misfiring taking place, especially on 8 cylinders. You need some proper good spark plugs in there. So they're arriving as well. Maybe charge pipes I haven't actually looked at yet, but I kind of do need to upgrade those as well. And on an easy stage 2 tune, that car will easily push to 700 plus. So
quite a lot for
Yeah.
a rear-wheel drive, especially.
quite a lot. And you saw how much it was on a 600 horsepower, stock 600
Stock.
horsepower is spinning everywhere.
It's quite a powerful car, to be
It
fair.
is.
Like what I said earlier when I was in the car,
Yeah.
600 for a rear-wheel drive is a little bit crazy.
Yeah,
Obviously, as
yeah.
you said, if they added the 4 wheels, it'll be a lot heavier.
It would, yeah. So if they did go with 4-wheel drive in that model, it would have been a bit of a heavier car. It's already heavy as it is. It's nearly 2 tons. Imagine adding another axle, another subframe, with all of those diffs in there as well, plus all the extra electronics that have to go to each suspension as well, each wheel, new front 2 wheels. That's going to be, add easily an extra like 250, 300 kilos of weight, making it slow.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Obviously, against the Tesla, Tesla's 0 to
different
60.
league. Tesla, I don't know
It's
how.
just instant torque, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's instant torque. Because with electrics, the difference between electric and let's say petrol powered, you have to rev up your engine first, build your revs up large enough, have enough air come into your turbo first of all to spool up to a decent stage to where you're boosting and then getting the full power out of the car. Yeah. With electric, you press a switch.
And it's just gone.
And that's it. You've got all the power you need.
So obviously, have you seen what Tesla is releasing soon? The Tesla model, is it X? No, not the X. The Roadster. That's the one.
Oh yeah, the Roadster is going to be insane.
Apparently, it's 1.9.
Yeah, 1.9 seconds, one of the fastest cars on the planet. I can believe that. It's got like a 400 kilowatt battery. The Tesla S is what, a 100 kilowatt battery. So imagine 4 times that.
Just in a Roadster looking.
Something that small. Plus, they've got more compact batteries as well now. As time comes along, these manufacturers start developing their technology to become better and better and better. I don't know how they do it. We were gassed like 5-6 years ago to have 400 bhp. We were like, this is too much. This is way too powerful. Now, 500-600 is the norm. Yeah, if you don't have anything less than 500, you're kind of like, not up there on that, high level. Like 600 is more than a Ferrari 488 Pista. You get where I'm coming from? So imagine 700.
That's about 3-4 times your car.
Yeah. Exactly. It's 3-4 times the price. Tesla having cars that are going to be, that Tesla Roadster is going to be, 300. I heard it's going to be anything between 250 to 300,000 pounds.
Wow. Okay.
But it's beating cars that are 3 million.
And the Chiron and stuff.
The Chiron, the Huayra, the Regera. Some of these cars are so expensive. Yeah, like the Gumper. Some of these cars we don't even hear of, but if you Google them, they're limited edition because it costs so much to make them. It doesn't make sense selling them on. Yeah. Whereas Tesla are doing this on a mass scale. So I do really rate Tesla. Like when that comes out, it's going to be a game changer. Plus the Cybertruck.
Oh yeah. And they're making a cheaper Tesla as well, I think. I think it was the battery day or something. That battery day when Tesla was talking about, I think they were releasing a Tesla for very cheap.
Okay.
Pretty cheap. So obviously that should increase the demand for the everyday user as well. So which would obviously in turn increase Tesla's price.
That's true. Yeah. So, Tesla Model 3 has been selling out, fast, and that is one of their cheapest cars as well. Yeah. So anybody can pretty much jump in that. I think what they did was actually build that car for disabled people first in mind.
It's quite a spacious car.
So it's very spacious. So their autopilot is going to be like no other. So obviously they're developing the autopilot system. They've already got an amazing autopilot system, but even a disabled person can jump in that car, put in where they want to go, and it goes.
So is that where you think the future's heading, where people are just going to autopilot everywhere?
I definitely believe so. So I remember actually watching a video on YouTube about Google making an electric car. It's got no steering wheel. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's actually like it looks like a smart car, but bigger. And it's like a box sort of
I think
thing.
I've seen the shape.
And there's one row of seats here, one row of seats here, but both of them are facing each other.
Okay. Yeah.
So all you have to do is, obviously everybody uses Google Maps nowadays, put in your destination on Google Maps, jump in the car, and it takes you there.
When do you think, because obviously that's going to be well ahead in the future.
Yeah.
where that's going to be normalized because people are obviously scared.
Yeah.
I know for a lot of people are scared to use the autopilot because they don't trust it.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you feel in 10, 15, 20 years' time that's going to be norm, or do you think it might be a little bit longer?
I think, you know what, we said that a lot when we were younger. We said that it's going to be at least 40, 50 years till this happens. Yeah. You know, we're getting microchips, like you know Apple inside out. We're getting microchips that can store so much data now. Beforehand, we needed to buy like terabytes and terabytes. Not even that. It used to cost us so much to even buy gigabytes of data. Forget terabytes.
I remember the PS2 back then. You used to get the big cartridges, put them in. You get like a gig. You'd be well happy.
Gig was the expensive one.
Yeah, and the gig was like that. You pull it in the front.
I used to have like 512 MB. Yeah, 512 MB.
That wouldn't
save
even
all my GTA data on there.
That won't even do an update now.
Yeah.
Update's like 60 gigs now.
I
for
know,
games.
right? So the way technology is moving, I reckon it will be way faster than 20 years, possibly about 5-6 years, you know.
Quite, wow. That's relatively quite.
Like everything technology-wise has kind of blown me away. When we saw Bitcoin hit 1,000 and then a few years later hit 10,000, it just stepped to another level. But putting finances to the side, you know, even phones that every single one of us use, like an iPad, for instance, you needed a chalkboard back in the day, or pen and paper. For instance, we still use pen and paper nowadays.
Yeah,
but you know where I'm coming from. We didn't think any of this was possible. Yeah, but a few years later down the line, everything has been perfected, and it's amazing. Some of this technology.
Some mobile phones.
Yeah.
Obviously, back then, obviously I'm not old, but I know from what I've heard from my family. Back then, they used to have the big phones in the suitcase in their cars. Well. And they'd bring it out. And they'd think they were like a boss because no one else had them. But obviously now everyone had the phone. So yeah, it's going to be crazy. So obviously have you heard about what Elon Musk was doing with the Cyberlink, is it? Is it Cyberlink? The one where he wants to put a chip in people's brains.
A Neuralink.
Neuralink, that's the one.
Yeah. Neuralink.
What's your
views? My views on that, I think we'll have to go into the next episode.
That's a bit of a different story.
God. Me and cameraman also had a very, very long, half an hour, 45-minute interesting conversation about this. And I think it is going to change things, but we'll leave that definitely for the next time. We'll go into a lot more depth on that, but I do think that is the way forward, 100%. If you could download, let's say I read a lot of books anyway. A lot of people prefer not reading books, they prefer audiobooks or things like that. But imagine downloading a whole book into your brain and you don't have to read it. It's already, every single word is registered straight into your head. It's like having a computer chip constantly. Now, there could be some good points about that. There could be some bad points about that as well. But we'll go on to that in the next episode.
100%.
Anyway, let's wrap this up. It has been a very great podcast. This was our first one. If you did enjoy this, smash the like button. If you aren't subscribed, make sure you are subscribed and hit the notification button, because we are going to be doing so many more of this on so many more interesting and deep topics. Also, write in the comments box what you want us to discuss on the next episode. Other than that, thank you for plugging in. I will definitely catch you on the next session.